Gain valuable insights into the intricate workings of the business world. This morning, we're talking about economic trends, market dynamics, and emerging opportunities. Our next guest joining me now is Illan, official member of the Forbes Finance Council and #1 best-selling author on Amazon. Good morning, Ivan.
Good morning, Jessica. Good to be with you today.
Yes, wonderful to have you. So talk to us a little bit about your background and what it is that you do and help businesses achieve.
Well, I wrote a bunch of books for investors, regular lay people. It's very complex. The economy, the capital markets. It's very intimidating, and I think it's often a black box. People have a hard time accessing and understanding what's really going on inside this kind of mysterious world. So I wrote a couple of books, one for financial advisors, one for investors, just to kind of open up that black box so they can really peer in and understand what's going on. My grandfather was the Undersecretary of the Treasury of Cuba.
Wow.
And so I grew up hearing crazy stories. Che Guevara putting a gun to his head to sign economic policy he didn't believe in. And, so when you're a 7-year-old or an 8-year-old hearing about, a gun put to your grandfather's head, you think, okay, economics is something very serious. This is a life or death situation. And I think in reality, economics really is a life or death situation. I mean, there's a lot of people that are experiencing a lot of economic hardship today.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what makes your approach and how you handle it? You said you've got something for financial advisors, you've got something for investors. So what is really the approach that you have that distinguishes you from, let's say, someone else's advice?
Right. We really care about the global macroeconomic picture. And so I think a lot of investors or money managers are focused on individual stocks or individual sectors. We actually take a step back, look at the entire globe, and really assess the macroeconomic dynamics that are happening all around the world. Sometimes it makes more sense to own more US stocks. Sometimes it makes more sense to own European stocks or developing markets or emerging markets.
Right.
And so to be able to really make that assessment and then allocate your money accordingly is absolutely critical. There's so many studies that have been done that show that asset allocation is by far the most important thing that you can do for your total portfolio return. And oftentimes investors and even financial advisors are just focused on a particular stock or a particular brand.
Right.
But if you actually step back and look at the big picture, you can really get much further ahead.
Yeah. Now, talk to us a little bit, because you kind of touch on this already with people sort of struggling sometimes to really understand when it comes to economics as a whole. So why is it important to understand economics and take, like you said, almost a step back? And how does that apply to someone's business personally?
Well, the capital markets, and when you say capital markets, immediately people go, oh my God, I can't follow what this conversation is going to be about. Capital markets just means the stock market, the bond market, even money markets.
Right.
All these things are connected to the economy. And so this connection between the economy and the capital markets is very murky. There's a lot of lag between what's happening in the broader economy and what actually shows up in the capital markets. Capital markets are usually reacting every day to something, some news or sentiment. Oftentimes every hour they're reacting to something. But the economy is a much slower rolling, tide. And it takes a lot longer to see something show up in the marketplace, in the capital markets, but it usually eventually does.
Right.
And so what our firm really is focused on is providing product and solutions so that advisors and investors can really ride that wave a bit more smoothly, over time, and really take a bigger picture. How much cash should you hold? how much stock exposure should you have, and how much bonds should you have at any point in time? Those are big questions.
Absolutely. Well, Ivan, thank you so much for coming in this morning and sharing some insight with us. This is really an interesting conversation. I feel like we could talk about for a lot longer than 5 minutes. So if you'd like to learn more and pick up a book, head to alignwealth.com.